The Red Sox continue rolling with the Yellow City Connect jerseys and win the second game of the Tigers series 5-4 off of the help of a mediocre start from Rich Hill, a great bullpen performance, and the offense coming up clutch when the Red Sox needed it most. What's up, Locked On Red Sox? I'm your host, Massachusetts Power's team insider, Jake Ignaszewski, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. But buckle up, because we have a great episode planned for you. I'll not only be recapping this great win that the Red Sox had against the Tigers on Tuesday night, but I'll also be breaking down some injury updates, and we'll have an exclusive interview with Red Sox infielder Christian Arroyo. He speaks a little bit about how his rehab is going, as well as what are some of his favorite things about playing for the Red Sox organization. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Before we begin this episode, I just want to take a second to talk to you about this great new app. And today's episode is brought to you by the Sports Card Investor app. Welcome to the world of trading cards reimagined. Stay tuned later in the show for more information on this awesome new tool for collectors. But you're going to want to check out the Sports Card Investor app. I've already used it a few times. I've been able to find some great Red Sox rookie cards, not only from, the new prospects, but also from past Red Sox stars. So definitely stay tuned to hear more about that. But you're here to hear about the great Red Sox win that they had against the Detroit Tigers in Game 2 of this series. And what's nice is that after the Red Sox won on Monday night and Tuesday night, they have now won their 6th straight series in a row. And they're continuing their success wearing the Yellow City Connect jerseys. Overall, they're 11-2 wearing those jerseys, and they're 5-0 so far in 2022. And I know some people have some mixed reviews on them. I love them. I don't know about you, but it seems like anytime the Red Sox wear them, they have so much success. It even got to a point where they even tried to potentially wear them during last year's playoffs, since they were on such a run when they wore them at the end of last season. But in my opinion, I think with how well they've done with them on and how much they really represent the city of Boston, I think they honestly got to make them a permanent alternative. I know some people like them, some people don't, but all in all, it's crazy how much the Red Sox have had success with wearing these. And, we really saw a really complete game from this Red Sox team, even though it got a little bit close there in the end. I'll break that a little bit down later on in this recap. But, starting off with Rich Hill on the bump, ended up throwing 5 innings, only allowing 7 hits, 3 earned runs, walking 2 batters, and striking out 6. And it was a pretty regular start for Rich Hill. He didn't look great, didn't look bad, but what's nice is that he did not blow up like we've seen him happen a few times throughout this season. It's just a very regular start for Rich Hill. We're so used to seeing him allow 2 to 4 runs each and every single start, so it's not too much of a surprise on his output after this game. But one thing that he did struggle with was allowing the long ball. He allowed one to Javier Baez to help the Tigers put a lead on early in the game. But ultimately, the Red Sox were able to find a way to creep back due to a clutch 3-run home run by Trevor Story over the monster. It's really nice to see him starting to heat back up, but that home run helped the Red Sox get a 4-2 lead. The one thing, though, with Story is, it's really nice to see him hitting these home runs. We saw him hit one in Sunday's game when I was at that one. But I would love to see him do some more things outside of hitting home runs. It's always nice to see the long ball, but at the same time, even in that Sunday game, those bases loaded, and Lauren and I talked about this. Those bases loaded, and he flew out. You just got to come up big when those runners in scoring position, and also when the Red Sox are in those critical situations. So it's nice to see him getting the long ball back, but at the same time, I would love to see more consistent contact and more consistent offensive production from Trevor Story. But you can't really complain when a guy has a clutch home run like he did tonight. We also saw Christian Vazquez go yard and have a 2-3 game offensively. Has done so well over the last 30 games, hitting 306 with 3 home runs. And he honestly looks like a completely different hitter than he did in April. We saw him in the bottom of the order really struggle to start off the season for the Red Sox. And that was honestly one of the biggest Achilles heel for this team, is that the 7, 8, 9 hitters were just not getting it done. But when a guy like Christian Vazquez at the bottom of that order is able to have strong offense production mixed with his reliable defense in that backstop position, it's just so critical for this Red Sox team. But after Rich Hill came in, it was really nice to see this Red Sox bullpen be bulletproof, and especially like a guy like Ryan Brazier. Lauren and I joke a lot about on this podcast that we don't really like Ryan Brazier, and we get very nervous anytime he gets put into high leverage situations. And he just has not really found his footing ever since he came back to the team last season. But it was really nice to see him have 2 scoreless innings, only surrendering 1 singular hit, as well as we saw Tyler Danish have a great 1 inning out of the bullpen. But then when the Sox got into that 9th inning, Matt Strahm came in, had a little bit of trouble getting out of that 9th and ultimately closing out the game. He did allow his first home run of the season to Tigers second baseman Jonathan Schoop, which ultimately made the game 5-4. And then we saw John Schreiber ultimately have to come in. But that's one thing that I really hope the Red Sox can find ways to avoid is, it seems like in that 9th inning, they just allow teams to creep right back in. And, we saw it on Sunday's game too. Tyler Danish allowed a 3-run home run to the Cardinals, and we had to see Tanner Houck come in. And it's something where if you can avoid putting in another arm and using another guy that you could potentially save for the next game, that's obviously the best case scenario. Like, I understand why they had to put Schreiber in to ultimately shut the door, because, Cora was nervous that the Tigers hitters were starting to figure out Matt Strahm's stuff, and he didn't want to allow them to creep back in and ultimately potentially come back like we've seen this Red Sox bullpen allow teams to do over and over again this season. That's why, their top 3, I don't know the exact statistic, but they could even lead the league in blown saves. I believe that they do, but it's just been so tough for this Red Sox team to close out those games. And, it's just a broken record by now. You've heard me talking about it so much. They need a reliable closer. And, we can talk all day about how Tanner Houck would be a great choice as a closer, but when he's not able to pitch and be a consistent guy out of that bullpen, especially when the Red Sox travel to places where you need a vaccine, it's tougher to rely on a guy like that. But it was really nice to see this Red Sox team continue to stack up these wins and continue this success in June, trying to do their best to climb up that AL East. They're now in 3rd place, which is really nice. They got past the Tampa Bay Rays last night, but all they can really do is just continue to win as many games as possible to try and find a way to creep back up in that AL East division, even though the Yankees are red hot. But it will be really interesting to see what happens tomorrow night in the final game of this Tigers series. And if the Red Sox are able to find a way to sweep this series. But all we can do is hope and pray that this offense continues to find ways to make things happen. I also want to touch on a few other guys that really had good games. Xander Bogaerts went 2 for 4. We saw Rafael Devers 1 for 4. Jarren Duran continuing his success in his stint with the Red Sox. That's something that I want to talk about in the second segment a little bit. Is once all these guys return from injuries, the Red Sox are going to have to make some critical decisions on who they want to send down and who they want to keep up. But that is something that we will talk a little bit about in our second segment. But if you're looking to try and find a Jarren Duran rookie card, a Rafael Devers rookie card, or even just figure out what sort of value those have, the Sports Card Investor app is the perfect place for you. It's not only completely free, but you're easily able to browse over 630,000 cards from every sport, with hundreds more added each and every single week. And you can also see the values of your favorite cards from a 7-day chart, even a 30-day chart as well. And you're able to also find the best prices and buy directly through the app with their eBay deals feature. But not only, as I mentioned, with a guy like Jarren Duran, Rafael Devers, there is also some great rising stars coming up like Adley Rutschman, Jeremy Pena, and you can really find as many people as you would like, any interesting players that you would want to add to your collection on this great app. And I don't know about you, I love collecting cards, especially rookie cards, with the way that their value is able to continue to rise, and especially with the way that the sports cards market is going right now, it is a perfect time to get into sports card collecting. And there's no better place than the Sports Card Investor app. So download it today. It's available for free in the Google Play Store and also the Apple App Store. And you can go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked-on to check it out now. And one live NBA draft show is not enough for Locked On. So this entire NBA channel is going live on NBA draft night. So if you have a favorite NBA team, make sure you subscribe now to the Locked On YouTube channel so you get notified when they go live on the NBA draft night. Definitely go and check that out. The Locked On Network is one of the best ways to learn about your favorite sports, your favorite teams, or even your favorite events like the NBA draft. And they have some of the most knowledgeable experts that will be able to get you ready and excited and knowledgeable about some of the guys that will be drafted during the NBA draft night. So definitely make sure to tune in for that. But in this second segment of the Locked On Red Sox podcast, I wanted to do a little bit of some injury updates, as well as get you guys updated on what is happening with a guy like Christian Arroyo, and also give you an exclusive interview with him to learn a little bit about how his rehab is going, as well as some of his favorite things about being a part of the Red Sox organization so far over his last 3 years. But starting off, looking at some of the injury updates, Alex Cora mentioned that Kike Hernandez and Nathan Eovaldi are coming back a little bit slower than expected. Hernandez may have had a setback, but he mentioned that more of that will come out in the following days. Also, Garrett Whitlock is close to returning, but may not need a rehab assignment. So it'll be interesting to see, once he does return, who will be sent down. Could we see a guy like Josh Winkowski stay up there with how well he has done in that Red Sox rotation? Could we see the Red Sox send down a guy like Sawamura, so Whitlock is able to fill in that position and obviously go back in the rotation? Maybe they move Winkowski to a long reliever role, but there's just so many question marks on all these guys coming back. And Christian Arroyo and Josh Taylor were in Worcester making their rehab assignments. Last night, we saw Josh Taylor start the Woo Sox game, ultimately threw 7 pitches for 5 strikes, which led to 2 groundouts and 1 line out. But in my opinion, he looked very good. He did have a setback around a month ago and now had to restart his rehab assignment. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him need around 4 to 5 rehab starts before he's able to return to Boston. But it was really nice to see him back on the bump and could be a really critical arm out of that Red Sox bullpen during the second half. But focusing now on the man of the hour, Christian Arroyo. He was taken out after 3 at-bats, ultimately ended up going 0 for 3 in his first rehab assignment, or his first rehab game, with Worcester. But interesting play in his third rehab plate appearance. He ripped what should have been a double down the left field line, but it ended up hitting the line and was ruled foul. And actually, Chad Tracy, the Woo Sox manager, went out, argued a little bit, did his best to make some magic happen and convince the umpire that it was indeed a fair ball. Ultimately, it was ruled foul, and Arroyo ended up flying out to deep center, but he looked really good out there. And I had the opportunity to speak with him a little bit on how he's recovering from getting COVID-19, as well as talk to him a little bit about how he's getting comfortable with the right field position and what has been some of his favorite parts about being a part of the Red Sox organization so far. Let's listen into that now. So Alex Cora said that he usually gives out tea recipes for COVID. Did you try it at all? He said they gave it to you. Did you try it at all?
I did, yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah, it was pretty good, actually. He told me it tasted better than it sounded, and it was pretty good. My wife made it for me. I can't remember exactly what was in it. Some lemon, pineapple. It was very citrusy, but yeah, it did help a lot. So I think the warm beverage helped too. So
how'd you feel out there after not being on the field for a week or so?
Yeah, I felt good. It's always exciting no matter where you are to get back in your first at bat. So I was trying to slow things down a little bit. Then my last at bat I was really happy with. Kind of a crappy missed call, but what are you going to do? It's baseball. So, it's just good to get back out there and feel good and have my legs back under.
I was wondering, since joining with the Sox in 2020, what's been one of your favorite parts about being a part of the organization?
I think that everyone's just really tries to help you get better from the top to the bottom. I've had some struggles, obviously, in the big leagues before and in the minor leagues. And when you struggle, sometimes you feel like you're all by yourself. But here, people are really trying to go out of their way to help you. And I think that's important as a player, and it just helps a lot. So.
And how have they helped you really acclimate to that right field position? Have you been feeling more comfortable out there?
Yeah, it was kind of a quick turnaround from spring. Obviously, we signed Trev pretty late, but I just try to go out there and try to get as many reads as I can. The game's a lot different than going out there in BP, but it is what it is. I've been trying to get used to it, picking the brain of Kike and Jackie and a couple other guys. So, but it's been going pretty good.
Also, it seems like you have so much fun out there on the field, and whether it's in the clubhouse, whether it's out on the field, where does that energy come from?
I think that we're playing a kid's game for a living, so I feel like I kind of owe it to my younger self to always have fun. That's one of the things that I've always made sure is that when I feel like this game just isn't fun, that's when it gets kind of stressful. So I try to just not take myself too seriously. Listen, it's a tough game anyway. It's a game of failure. So I'm sure to go out there and just have fun, just play hard, and whatever happens, happens, So can't force results. Just go out there, play hard, and keep your head down and keep grinding.
And especially when things aren't going well, do you have a process that you go through to try and, whether it's positive affirmations, whether it's going in and try and do some mental work? Is there anything specific?
Yeah, I try to do a lot of mental work, a lot of faith-based stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of it just really comes down to trusting in your ability. And, I've hit before. I know I'm going to hit again. It's not like you just don't forget how to hit. Everyone struggles. Mike Trout was just 0 for 30 a couple weeks ago when we saw him. That's the best player in the world. So everyone struggles. It's the big leagues. Big leagues are hard. Guys struggle down here. You struggle everywhere. It's baseball. Baseball's hard. The way the game's changing. The pitchers have great stuff, and it's not getting easier, right? So as a player, I think that you just trying to forget that stuff and then remember that you're also good. You're there for a reason, and then you kind of go there. You take one pitch, and then you take one at bat, and then turn one at bat, and a couple of string together good at bats, string together good games. Next thing you know, you have a good month. So I think that's what it's really about. I've been trying to do that obviously all year, finding that. A lot of bad luck. It's part of it. a lot of hard hit balls at people, line drives at guys. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I just try to keep a positive mentality and just be there for everyone else and not make it about me, make it about the team. So
I think that's so important. Really appreciate it, man.
yeah, no problem. Yeah.
I hope you guys did enjoy that conversation that I had with Christian Arroyo, and are really enjoying some of these interviews that we've been getting. It's been so much fun to not only meet some of these guys that we see on a daily basis on TV playing for the Red Sox, but also get a little bit more of insight on who they are as people outside of the game, and as well as how they go about different situations that may arise, like, for instance, Christian Arroyo getting COVID-19 or moving to right field. So it was really interesting to hear his insight on both of those things. But something that I mentioned earlier in this segment also goes with Arroyo as well. What will happen when he gets caught up? We will probably see Jeter Downs be sent down, but could that mean that Ref Schneider or Duran stays up? It's going to be really interesting to see what roles guys will fit up in the majors and what roles guys will fit in the minors. But, for people like you and I who are listening right now, who are looking to fill roles, a perfect way to look for those roles are on LinkedIn Jobs. And LinkedIn Jobs really makes it easy for you to grow your team and helps you find the people that you want to interview faster and for free. So you can actually create a free job post in just minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. And then you can also add a purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, so your network can help you find the right people to hire. They have simple tools, and you also can have them go through screening questions, which will make it easy for you to focus on candidates that have the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you would like to interview. And that's exactly why the business rate of LinkedIn Jobs is number one in delivering quality hires for leading competitors. So go right now and post a free job on linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/MLB to post your job for free. Terms and conditions may apply. But one thing that the Red Sox are hoping to get to is that ultimate prize of the World Series and get a little bit of a bling bling. But if you're looking for some bling bling for your special someone, like an engagement ring, Blue Nile is the perfect place for you. They have simple online tools that will let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. And Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. And one in each ring is one of a kind. And one thing that is really interesting about Blue Nile as well is that it doesn't really matter if you want to pop the question or you're just looking for a milestone moment. This jewelry is so unique with modern convenience of online shopping. And to make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. And this podcast exclusive includes engagement. So use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, shipped free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give it away what's inside. So shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. But in our last and final segment of this episode of the Locked On Red Sox podcast, I just wanted to take a second to look at some of your guys' reactions to this Red Sox win. Looking at first, Go Pats. His is at Red Sox Chimp. He said, would like your opinion on how to keep Jarren Duran in the lineup once Kike returns from the IL. Need to keep him at that MLB level. Couldn't agree more. Go Pats. Honestly, he has been so impressive ever since the Red Sox have called him up. In this latest stint, he just is showing so much more confidence at the plate and really looks like a natural major league player. And I really don't think it would do him any good if the Red Sox sent him back down. So I think what's really going to need to happen is that you send down Ref Schneider, and you're going to have to make an interesting move to be able to offset some of those roster numbers. But that's something that I mentioned a little bit in today's episode. The Red Sox are going to have to make a lot of critical decisions on who they want to keep up on this roster and who they want to send down. And that could potentially mean maybe sending down a guy like Sawamura, looking at who you want to keep in this bullpen and who you really want to send down. And also looking at it offensively too. I don't really see, obviously, Jeter Downs staying up. He's mainly just a fill-in piece. It's really interesting to see how much longer they're going to allow Bobby Dalbec to stay in the majors to continue to try and figure things out. But, do you really trust Franchi Cordero to be at first base full time? That's the real question. And, there's just a lot of question marks with this Red Sox roster currently, with so many guys waiting to come back. All we can do is just wait and see what Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox front office decide to do. But honestly, as I mentioned, I think that they're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make. But I'm definitely on the side that Duran needs to stay up. It's really not going to do him any good going back down to Worcester because he just needs to get more and more comfortable in the majors with Major League pitching, because that's the only way that, in my opinion, he's going to get better. So, and then also Marcos _N7 said, I can't see a logical scenario in which Sale and Paxton coming back is a bad thing. Me either whatsoever. It's going to be a very interesting development to see what the Red Sox really do with all the starting pitching depth that they do have currently on the roster when both of those guys do come back. I wouldn't be surprised if with Paxton, he doesn't immediately go into that starting rotation. I could see them potentially sort of baby step him back into those longer starts, maybe put him in as a long reliever to start off. But especially with the emergence of Josh Winkowski, with how well he's performed when the Red Sox ultimately brought him up just for fill-in starts and really didn't have any high hopes on what he would do. But he's been so impressive when he's gotten the opportunity. So especially when Sale comes back to it, he's obviously going right back in that rotation. But what are you going to do? Are you going to keep Garrett Whitlock in there? I think if anybody was to go into the Red Sox bullpen, it would be Rich Hill. And also, you also got to put into question as well, when will Paxton come back, and could we potentially see him close to the trade deadline? Because I wouldn't be super duper surprised if the Red Sox try and flip Rich Hill, who is on a 1-year contract, maybe for a bullpen arm or maybe for some prospects, depending on how Paxton and Sale ultimately look prior to that trade deadline. And the Red Sox have a lot of question marks, but they're all good question marks, in my opinion. And this is something that, Chaim talked about throughout the offseason. Having too much depth is never a bad thing. And especially starting pitching depth and just overall pitching depth. If you're able to have a lot of quality players, that's not a bad thing. And having to make these tough decisions on who to send down and who to keep on the major league roster, it's not a bad thing either, because that just means that you have a lot of really good players who are fighting for those spots. So it's all going to be very fun to watch. But if you want to hear our opinions on it Monday through Friday, make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Red Sox podcast. If you have not yet, we give you our opinion on each and everything that happens with the Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. And we post on whatever audio platform that you're listening to. We also post the video version on YouTube as well. But as always, greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. If you have not yet, make sure to follow us on Twitter. It's LO_Red Sox. And that's honestly where you're able to interact with us. If you're wondering where some of these fan responses are coming from, they're coming from Twitter. I actually, right after the game ends, I tweet and say, let us know what your thoughts are, and we'll use your answers in the episode. So if you want to be on an episode, follow us on Locked On Red Sox on Twitter. Again, it's LO_Red Sox. And when we make those tweets, reply, because we try our best to put each and every single response that we see. But we'll most likely use yours if we haven't seen you do it yet. But also follow myself on Twitter. It's at Jake Iggy, as well as my co-host Lauren. It's Lauren with 4 R's. But I hope that everybody has a great rest of their day and is having fun watching this Red Sox team continue to kill it. But I greatly appreciate everybody making Locked On Red Sox, as always, their first listen of every single day. Now make your second listen Ultimate NBA Mock Draft. The first picks of the NBA Mock Draft have been made, and you can search now for that podcast to get over 50 insiders and Odyssey sports experts, the draft experts of the Locked On Big Board podcast, all their opinions, all in one podcast. And 5 episodes currently are underway. So make sure to go and check that out. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. And let's continue having fun watching the boys, the Red Sox, kick some butt. But I'll end it how we always end it. Let's go Sox. Peace.